Welcome to the Ops Experts Club. If you're at all interested in anything we talk about here in this episode, go ahead and check out the description down below and click any of the links there. Or if you just want to know more about us, click the links below. Now on to the episode.
Woo! Ops Experts Club. Terryn Turner. See you, brother.
Yeah.
How are things, man?
Doing pretty good here in this nondescript location and nondescript time for evergreen purposes. How are things there for you?
Shoot, nondescript, but can we at least describe that you might be floating away here soon? Like your state is pretty crazy with water right now, right?
Yeah, gonna be the wettest place in the world, I guess, this week.
It's insane. So, I mean, there are like tropical rainforests that aren't seeing as much wet as what your part of the demographic is showing. Is that a true story?
Well, that's what the internet clickbait told me, so we'll see.
Clickbait is legit stuff, though, man. If you can get people to click on that stuff, man, there is a lot of very scary stuff that can end up on your computer.
Yep, I'm already on 4 new email lists because of it. So
I love it. Anytime I go in, I just enter in David's email address. I'm just like,
yes, you told me that trick. I got to keep doing that.
And David's fun of me. I think he's. I mean, if I get the whole Collab team just to push stuff at David, I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's why he can never opt out of those cookie texts.
Never. You never can. That's the best part. So, hey, if there's a take home for the ops experts, if there's somebody you don't like or somebody you just like to punk over and over again, and put their stuff in. That's the funnest game ever. Alrighty, ops experts. Terryn, I'm going to tell a story because I think that there's something to be told today about when should you recruit and hire fast and when should you recruit and hire slow. It's the tale of two. It's the tale of two cities, is what it really is. No, I'm not going to make it that grand. But I will say there's a time. EOS is really big on hire slow, fire fast, and I totally agree with that. But I will say, I do think that there are varying kinds of hires out there. I don't think all hires were created equal. And what I'd like to talk about today is what do you need, and how urgently do you need it, and what should the hiring program look like? Terryn, does that sound like a fair thing to talk about today?
Yeah. Applicable.
Very applicable. Can I just mention this though, because I don't feel like I talk about this enough. This is my Montana mug that I love. So if any of you wonder, if I pick up this mug, just realize the magic is about to begin, because the real truth is established 1889 Montana, state of Montana. It doesn't get better than that, Terryn. So as I drink from this, the magic is going to happen. Here we go.
Well, this is my Alaska whale mug.
I love your whale mug. It's a whale of a tail. I love it, Terryn. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I love when you use that whale emoji on our Zoom calls when we're on with clients, and you're just like, yes, a whale. Anyway, this is what I found is a lot of times people can get hung up on the thought of culture and wanting the right team. And I totally get that. Like skill set, culture are huge with hires. I'd be the biggest idiot on the internet to come on here and tell you go and hire not based upon skill set and culture. That's like what everybody knows is true. But I will say this, there does come a time when I have, there's a client prospect. They're not really on our team. They've never been a client of mine, but they were referred to us. And they've been trying to hire for a pretty relatively low position for a long time. And so our client referred to him and said, hey, Aaron, the Collab team is awesome for this. Like why don't you let them come in here, do the gap analyzer, assess where there are gaps on your team. Based on those gaps in the team, why don't you let them come and just seat themselves in your team, hold space for that, create standard operating procedures around the role, and then go do some recruiting for it. You guys are drowning. Like, why don't you just let them help? So this prospective client reaches out, and they don't want us to do the gap, and they don't want us to come seat on their team, which I feel like is always the best, right? Because then let us just take some of the burden off of your team for the immediate, and then we'll go do the recruiting. That's what we do all the time. But they didn't want to do that. They just wanted to use us for recruiting. And so I said, no problem, we can do that. So we went back and forth and kind of dickered a little bit about price, and that's fine. I think people need to kick the tires. I totally get that. For us, we're not a marketing agency though, right? I don't charge a percentage. Like a lot of marketing agencies out there are anyway from 10 to 30% of year one income is what they're going to charge you. We don't do that. We just do flat rate because we don't advertise as a marketing agency. So I give them the whole spiel, the whole shtick. Is this a good story so far? Are you engaged?
I love it. Yeah.
Good. It's the second time you've heard it, so I want to make sure it's really good for you. So anyway, they decided not to go with us. They're going to keep doing it on their own, or they had some other agency they wanted to use. It's great. So then they circle back around and we have the same conversation. They decide not to use it. So then they circle back around, and then we have the same conversation, and they decide not to. So now I've got this is like a 16 email chain of us having this conversation. They've been going about this for months, and when I looked at drill down on, okay, what is this exact role they're trying to hire for? It's like a less than 40K a year job. Like, we're talking about this is not a hard hire. This is not like somebody top of the food chain. This is like your team is probably drowning under this demand. And that's in that kind of situation where I'm like, dude, freaking hire somebody. You can guarantee you've had probably over this amount of time, dozens of applicants that you vetted. Any project that we start recruiting for, we knock down at least like 100, 150 applicants straight out of the can, right? And so then for us, we're identifying the best 8 or 10 that we do first round interviews with and shake up to you the best 2 or 3 and let you make a decision. I would say when it comes to a low cost hire, somebody that you just need to get in there and do the work because you're burning out team, freaking make the hire. Like, don't dick around. Terryn, what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, you're going to be wasting a lot of time not hiring them at that point if it's somebody you need at an entry level position, and that means things are getting missed or people are being overworked or bandwidth's being reached, processes are lacking. So it's a great spot just to get people into the door. I mean, we're still gonna, us doing, if we did it, we're still looking for the best fit.
Of
they
course.
can do the job, as well as best fit culturally. That's gonna align with your core values. But beyond that, get somebody in, and if they only work out 2 months, that's fine.
Yep.
You can try again. But if they do work out, then you got them in there.
I just think a lot of times what's probably happening is you're probably using somebody that's way overqualified to do a much lesser role, which means you're not even getting the best bang for your buck out of your more qualified person. It would be better for you to get in somebody that maybe doesn't quite, is a maybe, but they have most of the things that check off on it. Try them, dude. Get them in there. Let's see how it works. When I do think that you should slow it down a little bit is like if you're making a higher hire. How about that? A higher hire. That's amazing. That's profound. You're making a more elevated position hire within the corporation. Somebody that's got a bigger voice, right? Somebody that's got more a bigger shareholder in the pieces of the pie, right? Somebody that's going to make some pretty big waves once they step into the water. You know what I mean? I think that's somebody I would say, yeah, be slow, be careful. You know what I mean? Like I know when Steven Diaz was going out on paternity leave, he and Chelsea were having their second baby. They were going to try and hustle in the door a director of ops. In fact, I think it was the COO at the time. And I remember coming alongside of him just as a friend and saying, brother, we were already doing work for them anyway. I said, hey, pump the brakes on that. Just, us, love us, trust us. Let us step into that spot just for the time that you're away on paternity leave. What are we talking about? Maybe 2, 4, 6 weeks at max. Like, don't hustle in somebody whose voice is that big that you don't know, can they do the things they say they can do? Because no matter how much vetting you go through, the bottom line is probably the first 6 months of a big hire like that, you're really going to get your feet under you on, does this person know what they say they know? Can this person do what they say they can do? And I would say you want to give them some time to prove that, right? So if you're not going to even be on the field, don't hustle this person in because they could change the whole culture of your organization if you're just going to leave them at the helm. So we talked Steven into a slowdown, and it was great. I felt like we were really able to help Steven Diaz and his wife build Rainmaker Family over the next 12 months to a place where they were able to hire somebody. And they actually ended up raising up somebody internally. And that was awesome because they were able to come through Ops Experts Academy for us at the Collab team, where we were able to mentor them and really pour into them. And Kimberly turned out to be an incredible director of ops and has gone on to, as Steven has changed and pivoted directions, has gone on to be a director of ops for Brandon Elliott over at Credit Council Elite, another amazing organization. But I think that the story of the Tale of Two Cities, Terryn, is there is a time when you want to hire quick. And that, I would say, that's when the team is drowning and it's a pretty non-consequential role, right? This is just somebody needs to go out there and make hay while the sun's out, right? But this one over here that's more strategic, I would say be careful on this one. Take your time on this one. I know, Terryn, you were just in the middle of a recruiting project for Michael Jr., amazing comedian and entrepreneur in the space right now. Maybe talk about that because I feel like you did a really good job at let's be slow, let's be careful, let's vet some candidates. What are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we went through a lot of applications, got a lot of people interviewed and into the pipeline. And at that point, Michael and the team, they did take their time too, vetting on their own, setting up some personal meetings with people that were in town, doing a couple follow-up interviews, really working through whether they think they're a good fit for them. So internally, they had their own, holdups on, okay, we really want this person, but we know how much we're about to spend on it.
Right.
And we don't need to rush into it. I mean, business is flowing. We've got things we could really use them for, but I've still got things going on. We've still got money coming in, money going out. We're here to stay. So let's take our time. And that's what they did. Took their time and got the right person in.
Megan Green, man, right? They hired the amazing Megan Green to become their director of ops. And I think that, man, what a smart lady, amazing human being. But right before that, they had come pretty close to pulling the trigger on somebody that was exponentially probably more than they should pay at the level of business they are, right? And I think that you always have to take that into consideration. Like, where are we at in our growth cycle? Do we want to put that much of the pieces of the pie towards this one position? And I know that particular guy that Michael had really enjoyed. It was like the experience level. We were concerned, like, does he have like, is the experience in this area? Like, as far as Michael's got a very niche down thing that he does, and he's brilliant at it. Like, does this person coming in have like experience in that same space? And like, does he have a proven track record? And the reality was he didn't really, it was going to be a little bit of a gamble. And so I think you and I both were like, hey, this sounds like a great dude, probably has an amazing skill set, but maybe just be a little bit careful because that's a really high price tag, which the role, it's a pretty high level role, but like, be really careful. And I just think Megan Green is such an amazing fit for what they were looking for the sake of elevating Michael's brand to where it's going. And I think just another story of like, pace it for the role. Like, make sure you're looking at the right candidates, make sure you're not rushing something. But I do think there is a time when you need to rush. And that time is when you need people out there like clearing the forest. Like, we're falling behind. I know another client of mine is they've got they have they sell online physical products, and so they have a warehouse associated with their brand. And we've been a little bit wondering, like, should we be doing more hiring in the warehouse, especially maybe could we divide up the two sides, and maybe because they have two sides, they have those receiving and those that are sending on these two different sides. They get a bunch of merchandise, and then they got to get a bunch of merchandise out based on sales. And we've been talking about, should we be doing more hiring there? And we've been a little bit slow because we want to be careful of the labor ratio. But then as we drilled down into it, we realized, holy cow, we're actually paying crazy overtime to the people that are on the field right now, that even just in the overtime dollars, it would probably justify a whole nother hire that could offset the load better and actually make everybody work a lot less stressed. Because what we're starting to find was some of the people that are great performers, people that are excellent workers, amazing team, we're starting to burn out, right? Because you can only push people at overtime for so many hours before you're going to start seeing quality drop. You're going to start seeing attitudes change. You're going to start seeing them like maybe not doing as well at home. And then that home life is going to start bleeding into your work life. And I think those are things sometimes the visionaries don't always take in consideration. Is they see somebody that's a high performer and they're a high achiever, and they're like, yes, give them more, give them more, give them more, without realizing, I know everybody has like an ideal performance ratio where it's like, no, this is where they perform the best. And if you start moving into red line, they may look good at the beginning, but that's got a limited time. Do you want to speak to that, Taryn? Because I feel like you deal with a lot of team that oftentimes ends up in the red, and you have to really consult with the visionaries that you're working with on, hey, we need to be careful here because we're starting to see some drop in performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it's really easy to spot that kind of stuff with hourly people, and you're paying overtime, and you can see the timesheets, you can see the direct costs. Once you get into salary people, though, it's a little bit harder to spot, and that's where the Gap Analyzer app really comes in use too, to see who's being overextended. But yeah, you can easily burn people out, especially if it's a quick turnaround type company and things are just happening quickly. It's like, oh no, we just need this one thing for next week, but then after next week, it's another one thing for next week, and it just keeps going and going, and there is no actual rest stop coming up for you. It's really easy to burn people out just in regular day-to-day stuff. But then there's scope creep when you're growing, starting to take on
Yep.
new stuff. One person might have been doing everything, and before you know it, customer support's taken up half her job,
Right.
and really her expertise is in something else that she
Right.
could be utilized more in. And nobody's really stopped to ask, oh, maybe we should hire a customer support person, even
Yep.
part-time, just to take care of the basic necessities, the lowest burns of the customer support, free up this person to do what they're brilliant at and probably even happier doing than just
Yeah.
responding to tickets. So, um, yeah, that's the number one thing we really come in and help with too, is we'll take over kind of those really small scope creeps too of, okay, we can have somebody do customer support a few hours a week.
Yeah.
We can do, all these different things, and you can start focusing in your sweet spots, and then we can start hiring in beyond us too. But that really gets people jazzed up too once they get back to what they're supposed to be doing and what they were more originally hired for instead of what they've ended up doing.
And there is nothing like seeing somebody get jazzed up. Boy, when they get jazzed up, they are stoked. They start using jazz hands more often. You know what I'm saying? There's
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of energy coming out of them. Jazzed up's where you want to live. So you said a couple of things there that I thought were really, really good. The first thing is I do think that visionaries, and if you're a visionary listening to this, or if you are an ops person that serves a visionary, I think it's really important to identify a lot of times the energies that visionaries put in, while essential, right? Because the visionaries usually the ones that are knocking down the dollars, right? They're the ones closing the deals. They're the ones that are up in front on the stage. They're the ones making the presentation, making the pitch oftentimes. Um, and that energy is huge and that energy is big, but usually that energy is pretty isolated, right? Like it's usually to the event time, right? Or this main push or something that is pretty isolated at time. But typically the team is the one that picks up the lift after that, right? And sometimes visionary doesn't recognize they have more bandwidth to do isolated energy. Like, right, they can show up on more stages, they can start doing more things, but there's a pretty good lift that comes before it to ramp it in, right? And after it to fulfill it, and sometimes visionaries don't realize, man, I'm back to back to back to back to back stacking my team, and they feel okay because they still have bandwidth to do it, but their team needs help. Like their team is drowning, and a lot of times they don't realize they've been redlining their team for a long time. They've been pegging their team for a long time, and you start to see people fall off. We've seen clients who've lost really great people because they just redlined too long, and before long they still love you, they still want, they would stay here except for they just don't want to work like this forever. And then sometimes visionaries can be like, well, if they're not a team player, well, if they don't want to work hard, and it's like, no, they've proven they're a team player, and they've even proven that they work hard, but nobody wants to run at full out sprint for miles. That's not realistic. I'm saying, like, nobody can do it. The best sprinters in the world can't do it. So nobody wants to be in perpetual sprint mode. And I think having a variation where, hey, we do this many launches per year, and we spend this much time in planning and this much time in fulfilling and making sure it's really paced. And if you want to increase that, realizing there's probably an economy of scale of that. We're going to have to increase the amount of players because we don't just have an unlimited amount of bandwidth with the limited team we have now. So I think taking those kinds of things into consideration. The other thing that we talked about was a labor percentage. Do you know the labor percentage for your business? And I would say not only just your business, but labor percentage, commensurate to the kind of line items that you're selling. You know what I mean? Because some of the products that you sell have a higher labor ratio to them than other products that you sell, and really being clear on. And if you're not clear on that, we would love to come alongside you and help you get clarity on that. But really making decisions based upon what should my labor ratio be? And according to the products in my product offering, are there things I need to take into consideration and not just think, well, I've got enough people. I've got a lot of people on the field, but really ask yourself, no, but like, what's the spread? What's your business model? How redlined are your people? Because the thing that I think a lot of people don't take in consideration is you've invested a lot of money into the people that have been with you. Like, keep them healthy, because the fastest way you can lose money is having somebody quit unnecessarily, and then you have to start back at zero to build them back up and help them understand your message, help them understand the way your voice, help them understand how you fulfill. Like, no matter, even if you hire some of the best players, it takes them time to get that same traction. It's going to take them a few months to get even back up to somewhere close to the speed probably of some of your best players now. So don't lose them to burnout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think too, it's, you got to realize when you're going to hire, I think a lot of people, just kind of assume maybe I'm looking for more of the same of what I've already got. But really what
Right.
you want to be looking for is, what do I need to fill in? If you have one
Yeah.
person, like I said, they're running copy, they're running support, you're going to go
Right.
to them and say, okay, you're maxed out. I don't need another person that can run copy and support. Why would I have two people doing both? I'm going to transition you. Which one do you want to do? Because maybe they do prefer one or the other. And then you're going to
Yeah.
hire for the missing after that. So it's always good. You can start with your people too and say, which role would you prefer? Like, where is your strong suit? What's going to make you the happiest? Maybe
Yeah.
you do want to be customer support. Maybe you did find it fulfilling. And so then we're going to hire somebody for copy. So yeah, just don't hire more jacks of all trades. The bigger you get, the more isolated and focused each of your hires should be.
100%. And that's why I would always advocate for it. Like put them through the gap analyzer. If you haven't checked that out, gapanalyzer.com. Something we sell day in and day out and help people with day in, day out. Gapanalyzer.com, take your people through the gap analyzer to identify where their time's going, and then take them through a delegate elevate exercise. EOS has a great tool called Delegate and Elevate. You can find it on their website in their toolbox. It's a great thing. If you want it from us, I'd love to send it to you easy. It's a free tool for you to put people through on determining how can I elevate people up to the highest bang for the buck of what I get out of them, and how can we delegate down anything that just does not require their brilliance anymore, and things that are quite frankly burning them out because it's too low of a task for them. We should get that off their plate so I get the best bang for my buck, and we keep them happiest in their role, right? What do they love? What do they love doing? What are they great at? That's where we want them to live. And how can we get off them the things that aren't? And then once you've identified what those roles are, put those to a job description, these 3 to 5 key roles for the job description. And then every quarter, take them through a quarterly eval. EOS has a great system called 555. Take them through a quarterly eval and ask them, are these still the same core 3 to 5 duties that you're doing? And if not, if there's been scope creep, well, let's go back to the drawing board and let's take them back through the gap, take them back through the delegate elevate, and determine what job description should they be living from. And maybe there's going to be a change, and then go hire accordingly. So, Terryn Turner,
Oh,
thank you
beautiful.
for being an expert at all things recruiting and operating and just being just a good whale of a dude. Appreciate you for that.
Well, yeah.
Ops Experts, thanks for joining us for another week here on Ops Experts Club. We'll see you next week. Talk to you all soon.
So yeah.